Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel today, and just in case you have not been irritated enough, I wanted to put Gavin Newsom's face in front of you today. But before we get into that and the big announcement that he just made, I want to remind you, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We are almost there, and we could get there quicker with your help. So please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It really helps get the information out to as many people as possible. So back to this and back to the wonderful world of California politics. If you haven't seen it yet, Gavin Newsom made a large announcement today. I will let the mainstream media tell you exactly what that is. Jacob, go ahead and play the video.
Why a constitutional amendment and why now?
Well, why now is pretty self-evident that a lot of the laws we've passed are being rolled back by the federal courts.
To be clear, you're not calling for the abolition of the Second Amendment.
No, this is an existential crisis that we're experiencing every single day.
Saying he's fed up with Congress's inability to act, California Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing something never done before on gun control, having states work together to pass a U.S. constitutional amendment on guns that would implement 4 measures nationwide: raise the minimum age for buying a firearm to 21, mandate universal background checks, require a reasonable waiting period for gun purchases, and ban the sale of assault rifles to civilians. To achieve this, he'll need 2/3 of states to propose the same amendment. That would trigger a constitutional convention, where 3/4 of states would have to vote yes for the amendment to pass. But more than half of these state legislatures are controlled by Republicans. So how is this possible? How is this going to happen?
That's possible because their constituency demands it.
In fact, a recent Fox News poll found most Americans are in favor of these measures.
There's not a parent out there, not one parent, you included, that doesn't think about these things when you send your kids to school.
You know very well what the critics are going to say about this. California has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. In the first month of the year, between Half Moon Bay and Monterey Park, 18 people were killed. That's what they're going to say. What do we need this 28th Amendment for?
And what California's gun death rate today is 73% lower than Texas. These federal judges want to turn America into Texas. We cannot let that happen.
The 19th Amendment to the Constitution that gave women the right to vote, it took 40 years or so. Do you think that the 28th Amendment, if it's passed, will it happen in your lifetime?
I hope so. If you don't start, it will never happen.
Again, guys, just to be really clear, to even get this amendment off the ground, California would need to be joined by 2/3 of the other states. Governor Newsom's first order of business is going to be shoring up support in ones with Republican-controlled legislatures. There is no question this is going to be a very uphill battle. Historically, there has never been a U.S. constitutional amendment proposed by states that have ever passed, Hoda.
I mean, okay, obviously this is a political move, right? There's a couple of ways that you can put an amendment, or you can make an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. It requires 2/3 votes. Obviously, he's not going to get that in the House or the Senate. So understood, the dude's running for president. This is a political move, something that he wants to see in the future. But you know, there is something that I feel like is worth trying to understand here, and that, you know, these people have always chipped away at our rights. They've never taken it away, you know, the entire thing at once. It's never going to work. We see evidence of that not working with large-scale things going on, you know, nationally, with companies trying to make big moves and all this stuff. The population seems to be extremely weary of large-scale changes. So, and they know that. They've known that for a long time. So that's never something that they're going to do. But I can't stand these statements or these arguments like, you know, this doesn't affect the Second Amendment, or this doesn't seek to abolish the Second Amendment. I think when he looks at that camera and says no, he's being truthful, right? Because this amendment to the Constitution as it is written, and I'll get into it in a second, because there's also a Fox article that I want to read. You know, the amendment wouldn't necessarily abolish the Second Amendment, but if that person were to look at Gavin Newsom in the face and say, is it your goal to abolish the Second Amendment? I think that he would be lying if he looked at you and said the same answer. So it's being tricky with words, and people do it all the time, not just the wonderful, you know, Gavin Newsom. But that is a play on words where you might be doing something specific that wouldn't abolish the Second Amendment outright, but it is absolutely his goal to do so, and he's going to continue to chip away at this. I mean, how I found this, I got this article sent to me this morning. I kind of wanted to share this article too because the article is troubling also. This was from Fox News, so let's see what this says here. The Democratic governor's proposed 28th Amendment would not abolish the Second Amendment, which establishes the right to bear firearms for personal self-defense and other lawful purposes. However, it would raise the federal minimum age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21, mandate universal background checks to purchase firearms, institute a waiting period for all gun purposes, and ban assault weapons. I find it interesting because, well, the video that we showed says assault rifles. This says assault weapons. I'm assuming the article got it more right because assault rifles aren't really a thing, but assault weapons is a term commonly used by our politicians. I mean, it's another made-up word, but that's the one more commonly used by the politicians. So these are the things that he seeks to change within our Constitution. I don't really understand how these are addressing our God-given rights. It seems to be taking them away. So it might it might fly in the face of a lot of the other amendments that are within our Constitution. But the point being here is that you can pick any one of these out. There have been several challenges here in California alone on these specific things which are already into law, challenges as being unconstitutional. But if you think that banning firearms isn't an affront to the Second Amendment, you're crazy. Like, and banning firearms in its own nature flies in the face of the Second Amendment that tells us we have the right to keep and bear them, and that right's given by God. It's not given by the government. It's viewed by the government and addressed by the government, but it's not given. And we see this all the time, and this is really what I wanted to impress upon you today, is that if you think that all of these little things don't come together as a larger purpose of abolishing the Second Amendment, they absolutely do. I think that we would work a lot more cohesively as a movement if everybody viewed every affront to Second Amendment rights as an affront to their own Second Amendment rights. But the fact of the matter is that the community is fractured. Whether you got hunting, who doesn't really worry about competitive shooting, who may or may not be concerned with anything related to home defense. There are a lot of different tools out there used for a lot of different things. And we don't always recognize them as being under one banner, but we absolutely should. And not to mention, you're talking about raising age requirements. So what are we going to stop sending 18-year-olds to war? I know that this argument has been used a lot, but if you recognize this on a federal basis, I don't really understand how we're going to be able to recruit 18, 19, or 20-year-olds to go into the military if they can't even purchase a firearm. That would be a little bit contradictory too. The main thing here is I really think that we ought to be careful about the messaging that we are viewing. I mean, this article even is from Fox, and it's telling us that this amendment, wouldn't be an affront to the Second Amendment. I think it absolutely would be. I think that, anybody who views these things and how it affects our rights as the Second Amendment sees it would view it the same way. This is something absolutely that we need to continue and advocate against. This might not get passed today, but we might not have the same makeup federally as we did today, tomorrow. So we need to continue and keep the Second Amendment on the top of our minds when it comes to going to the ballot box, because that's what keeps all of our other rights intact. Anyways, we're going to keep following this, I'm sure, as time goes on. As Gavin Newsom continues his bid for presidency, I'm sure that the Second Amendment will continue to be part of his talking points moving forward and what he might want to do it federally. So stay tuned. And guys, remember, be sure, like, share, and subscribe to these videos. I like making fun of Gavin Newsom just as much as the next guy. You can find that content here. You can find the content on Second Amendment litigation and legislation to keep yourself informed. And we want that message to get out to as many people as possible, not just for their table conversations, but also for when they go to the ballot box. So please like, share, and subscribe to the videos, and we'll see you on the next one.